Hello, welcome to Ring Takes here. Of course, I'm joined by Brian and Lewis here, and there's a lot of news to cover. Obviously, Raw happened on Monday night, but big event happening in Boston tonight as we are recording. Big business, AEW Big Business at the TD Garden tonight, and there was a special debut as we start episode 54, Mercedes Mone Big Business and Raw recap here. But let's get right into it with
CEO.
Let's get into Mercedes. Why does that keep going off? Let's get into Mercedes Mone AEW debut, coming out to a standing ovation in the TD Garden, making her long-awaited wrestling return from ankle injury from wrestling in New Japan and doing a couple things over there. Finally coming back stateside, making her debut. What do you guys think about her entrance? What do you guys think about what she had to say in her return to professional wrestling?
So I guess I'll start this off. Well, it's great to have her back in professional wrestling now, back on our live TV. She debuted a brand new song, as you guys heard me singing the lyrics. The CEO chant. I mean, she came out to that. She came out, looking like her last name, looking like money. Came out with the gold shoes and the white dress that she had on. So presentation wise, she definitely looks like the top star that AEW has now signed. She came out, she cut a promo about why she's back. Talked about. Kind of gave a little story about her journey, how she started in chaotic wrestling in Attleboro, I think she said North Attleboro, North Andover, my mistake, and how she got to this point. She had some of her emotional points, talking about taking care of her brother, and then she pretty much just said that she looks at the roster, she's looking forward to challenging the women. She has big expectations moving forward. Essentially, pretty much your standard promo. She is going to. I feel, and some people don't feel this way, but I feel as though she is going to make an impact on AEW's women's roster. Because as far as I'm concerned, she's the most mainstream female talent that they have on their roster right now. She had the part-time role in The Mandalorian. I mean, obviously, it's well known that she's a Snoop Dogg's cousin. And in the podcast that she recorded during the week, she talked about dipping her fingers in both movies. She has a couple film projects that are coming up she couldn't talk about, and she talked about releasing music this year. So outside of the wrestling bubble, she is the most mainstream talent. And I know some people will look at it and say, well, AEW's target audience is the niche diehard wrestling fans. So what does it really mean if she's mainstream? Well, there goes one of the issues that I believe that keeps AEW from progressing forward is they focus on that niche diehard wrestling audience instead of trying to grow the company outside of that, because those wrestling fans will always be there because that's what they love. But I'm going to make a little analogy about what I'm afraid of, though, for Mercedes Mone. And Daniel, you being the basketball guy, you'll get this. I'm afraid that she's going to end up being the Jordan Poole of the AEW women's division. Let me explain. I know it's kind of a poor analogy, but let me explain. This is what I'm afraid of. So, we all know Jordan Poole, championship year in Golden State. You got Steph, Clay, and Draymond around him, and it looked like Jordan Poole was going to be the future of that Warriors team. At least that's what the plan was, right? You got Steph, you got Clay, you got all this talent around you, so nobody's really focusing on you, which allowed him to grow. I mean, for God's sakes, they were considering calling him the third Splash Brother at one point. Mm-hmm. But then here, issues with Draymond, he ends up getting traded, going to Washington. And what's Washington think? Oh, we're going to build the future of our team around this guy. Now, Daniel, what has Jordan Poole done this year?
Absolutely jack zero shit. Nothing. Yeah, terrible Jack in Washington.
He's been absolutely terrible. I mean, the way the season started, you seen videos of him, like blowing his nose on a towel, throwing it toward the teammate, telling him, this is my team now. I run this now, thinking just because he won the championship with Steph and them that like he's the guy now. and it impacted him. So that's why I'm kind of afraid from Mercedes Mone's standpoint, because as great as she was as one of the 4 horsewomen, there never was a time where like she was the top woman there. There was always Charlotte. There was always Becky when she got hot. Now she won championships, but it always seemed as though because Charlotte was around and Becky was around and others were around that she never was the top woman. I mean, she had all of those title reigns and first title defense, she would lose for a long time. So now you take the mainstream
I wonder why
into AEW, and now people are looking at her like, "Oh, well, you're the top. Well, you're the top woman in the division. You're the top woman in the division right now. So now you got to show out. I mean, now you're in the quote unquote secondary company, but you're the most mainstream. So therefore, you kind of have the pressure on you to kind of elevate the women's division now. And I don't want there to be a situation where she kind of falls flat because of that. And we kind of learn, like how Jordan Poole is in Washington, that like she's just not that girl to carry your brand. So that's the analogy I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on the other hand, I am hopeful.
Someone has to be optimistic.
Of course, I don't need all this negative about stuff we don't know that's gonna happen.
That's my only worry.
You see, look at how everybody thought it was so great. Look how everybody thought it was so great. CM Punk, which I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people that he finally came back, obviously from the 8 years he was gone. But look how that ended. We would have never predicted that the same shit would happen again. But at the end of the day, we all weren't there between those incidences, and it's just whatever people rumored and said happened, whatever. Anywho, I'm optimistic just because I feel, we all have discussed in the past about AEW's women's division and how literally they have like 3 stars, probably Toni Storm, Britt Baker, who I feel like isn't even on the show anymore, and
recovering from an injury. She'll be back soon.
Oh, she's injured? See, I wouldn't even know.
Yeah, she's injured.
And it's just like, that's it, And I mean, yeah, you got Saraya, but
is that 3 stars?
I'm just naming what I remember. Those people I like, I do like
Rio
I like Willow. I like
Nightingale.
Willow Nightingale. I like what's the girl from House of Black? I always forget her name.
Julia Hart.
Which I think is doing
in the women's division.
Well, I think is doing pretty good. But this is what I mean. Like, I'm hopeful that with what Mercedes has, like she said, she started the women's revolution. Brought a lot of eyes onto women's wrestling. Hopefully, she brings that to this company. Hopefully, she pushes for longer matches, building better stars. Maybe she has matches with people that we don't even see regularly, and they show out. Just kind of get the ball rolling, because she is that big of a star, and like Brian said, she is mainstream, so a lot of eyes are going to be on her and what she brings to the table. Not just what she does, but like what she does for the division. And I feel like Tony, with how good Toni Storm has been, it's kind of been like, wow, look at this. Look at her talent and look at what she's doing. But like, it kind of, after the whole like Britt Baker and Saraya stuff, I feel like things kind of went dry. But once Toni like found her character, it was just like, there's a new star. At least I'm really intrigued. So
she picked it up. She picked
up the ball, and a lot of people are like, yo, she's doing great work. And, we've all seen the character work, and it's just like, it's so unique and so like different that it's not something you see. So I hope with her coming in, I hope she has some input as to either, and not like match structure, but just like helping to build new stuff. I feel like that's the thing, is like, we talk, AEW talks a lot about homegrown talent, but it's just like, where are the women that are supposed to be these top stars, like consistently? Like, I feel like in the beginning you had like Nyla Rose and some people, and it's like they kind of fade into the back, and then it was all bringing all these people in. And where the hell's Athena? Why is she still in the whole Ring of Honor crap? Like, I was Athena's probably one that I'm like is the biggest.
Before you continue, she is doing a kick-ass job down in Ring of Honor as the world champion.
Absolutely.
That's the reason why she's there. That's why she's there, because they need her down there. So go ahead.
And this is what I'm saying.
They need her down there. No, they need her down there. Ring of Honor, yes, they need Athena. If they take Athena away, I think there is no women's division. So
what was the last thing ever reported on Ring of Honor?
I want to let you finish, Lewis, but I feel like, just to answer Brian, I feel like there should be a reverse. I feel like they should be bringing up, isn't Mercedes Martinez down there too?
Yep.
Yes.
They should bring those women up to AEW and put the other women down in ROH to build themselves up.
Yeah.
Because we don't even see Athena. We don't.
I feel like I've seen her on TV probably like 3 times.
A couple times on Collision.
Yeah.
But,
and like she's someone who I was very hopeful, like coming in. I'm like, she should be another top star. And it's just like, come on, out of freaking what is it? Rampage, Dynamite, and then I'm like, no one is talking about Ring of Honor. There's no reason for it. You might as well just call it developmental at this point. You know,
and
it's just like,
I feel like
ROH is not made to be built.
It's not made to be that, but
Ring of Honor is specific for a specific group of wrestling fans.
But it's not even that anymore.
I understand that, but my issue with that is that Rampage is non-existent, correct? Like, who watches Rampage? Who's on Rampage? So that would be, if I'm Tony Khan, that would be the spot for ROH. Let's try to get these people some TV time. Yeah. But that's a whole nother discussion. Keep going.
Yeah. So whatever I was going back to, I just hope that, you know, with her coming in, it just brings more eyes to the women, you know, better stories, better characters. Like, I'm hopeful and excited to see what happens. So I know, like, you know, Daniel, he'll mention as well. He doesn't believe she should be there. She's too big for them. But you know what? She left to go to different promotions and do things, and I think probably AEW is going to allow her more freedom than WWE would. You know, there are rumors there that, you know, she was in talks, and, you know, there's stuff about money, but, you know, we don't really know what happens there. But obviously, AEW is the right fit for her now. I definitely see her going back to WWE and probably finishing her career there. But for now, I hope she brings, you know, a positive change to the women's division in AEW.
Okay. Both of you guys said very, very good things. This is how I feel about her debut. Obviously, I've been voicing for months, I don't want her to go to AEW. Obviously, it was written on the wall that she was going to AEW, even before Tony Khan announced Big Business, that she was going to AEW, because it just felt like, with the transition of WWE right now, where you have all these women, even in NXT, just the talent that they have, that she will come back and get lost in the shuffle, unfortunately. As Brian was saying, how as big as she is, she wasn't the main person in WWE. Very popular, had her own fan base, et cetera, but just wasn't that guy. And right now they have.
I wonder why.
They have I'm going to get into that. They have Rhea Ripley. They have Becky Lynch. They have all these other women on the roster. Cool, I understand. So it was obviously that she was going to go to AEW at this standpoint. Her return, very basic to me, very understandable. She talked about what she was going to be doing and her plans for AEW. Cool, understand that. She had the interview earlier in the week with, I forgot the guy's name, Mac. Is it Mac? I forgot his name. But had the interview there, and I said she didn't really say anything or allude to anything regarding her release from WWE, regarding what actually happened, because that's what we've all been waiting for. We haven't had a concrete story about what actually happened, and I thought that was a misstep, even on her part, because it's like, yeah, obviously you're trying to transition and move to AEW. No stones towards WWE, which I feel like I understand that, but it's like, we need to understand what happened in that situation, because you've been gone for what, 2-3 years now.
And small thing about that, because I'm going to say this because I saw a clip, and you guys probably saw it online too, of like a fan asking her like, "Oh, why'd you leave?" And she's like, "Why would I tell you?"
Exactly.
Like, why would I? And like, you know, I'm like, I feel like she would honestly save that for either like some type of documentary or probably a book.
Or a documentary.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think it was stupid as hell to ask that dumbass question.
Like, no, from a fan standpoint, I understand asking the question because as a Sasha Banks fan, that's all we wanted to know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I understand. Did you really think she was going to tell you though? Like, come on.
Yeah. To put it on camera is different. Yeah. The guy's name was Evan Mack. Apparently, he's a wrestling fan, reporter, commentator. He goes to the red carpets and stuff like that for wrestling. So respect to him. I just wanted to get his name, Evan Mack, before I continue. But she really didn't say anything in that interview, kind of just alluding that she's healthy. The injury kept her out, and what she's doing, as Brian said, with music and movies and film and stuff like that. So good for her in that standpoint, that she's healthy and that she's ready to go to get back in the ring. Cool, all of that. What Brian said about Jordan Poole, I think that's a misstep there because that's just the extreme, right? Like, we don't think Mercedes Mone is going to be crap in AEW, right? Like, that's obviously not going to happen.
I was afraid that would happen.
What I'm afraid, I'm going to raise you a different basketball analogy. She is Russell Westbrook, a person who was an all-star, a person who was an MVP, a champion at one point, leading the company, main evented WrestleMania, had big accolades, but had the stigma of short title reigns. You're not the main person. You've teamed up with other people and stuff like that, gone to other promotions, and it hasn't worked out great, the injury and stuff like that, and that nature. And maybe now AEW is either a combination of the back half of Russell Westbrook's career where it's been kind of up and down, or it's going to be, hey, you find your place and you find your niche and you're able to help this company grow. To answer to Lewis's point about being optimistic, I'm absolutely optimistic about that standpoint. And that's one of the things I've been saying, that she has to basically find her niche in terms of what you were saying in getting new talent over. And it just made me think of Cody Rhodes. When Cody Rhodes was in AEW for a while, and then he was just wrestling everybody, getting everybody over, that was his standpoint. And I'm just like, at this point, I understand it from that standpoint, but it's like, she can't get other people over. She has to get over in AEW because that's kind of her story. She can't be the middle of the pack. She can't do that. She can't have these random losses. It's like, to bring her there and then just to have her lose, I don't see that happening. So I hope that's not what they do. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. When I said bring people up, I kind of meant in the sense of like, when somebody has a match and even though they beat them, they're still like, hey, look, this person can go. Like,
and there's a sign of
seeing like Ricochet on Monday, like showing out, or seeing like a Chad Gable show out, but even though they lose, it's like, oh, look, they wrestled this person.
They had a good showing, yes.
They had a good showing,
But that's why I was saying kind of like Cody Rhodes, where he was wrestling like Darby Allin and all these other guys like Sammy Guevara and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. But I just hope that she does well. I've said it before that I think that her and Britt Baker should be clashing and be the women's division for at least a year and a half, 2 years until they can build everybody else up. Because Toni Storm is going to be in that shuffle, but Britt Baker is that AEW women's division. She's been gone, injury. I don't know what happened, but just in general, she's been that AEW women's division. Toni Storm has picked up the mantle from, was it Jamie Hayter, who was the champion? And Saraya and stuff like that. And they kind of fell to the background. Ruby Soho came over and really has fallen to the background. And it's like a lot of these women for AEW have fallen to the background. And it's like, especially when you got stuff like Rampage and Collision and Dynamite tonight, it's like, I don't even think if there's been a woman on the match other than Mercedes Mone. Obviously, there's going to be Rio and Willow Nightingale, obviously, on the show later. But it's like, where's the presentation for the ladies? Outside of that first 15 minutes for Mercedes Mone, I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything. So it's just, I hope from that standpoint, she brings a better presentation to AEW, how women can be presented, how matches can be structured, how storylines can be structured, have a little bit more of a say-so, especially with the other women in the division, to kind of help and build that women's division. That's why I'm hoping for Mercedes Mone. Even though I didn't want her to go there, I want her to be effective and good for women's wrestling. That's what she left WWE for, right? Like, to get out of that situation where it was bad, even though things are probably 10 times better now. Mm-hmm. I want her to transition into AEW and do well. That's what I want for her.
You know what I think is tough, and I think it's one thing that we forget, and probably out of the three, I mean, Brian probably watches more AEW than I do, but I think probably between me and Dan, probably the only thing of AEW we really watch is Dynamite. And if you remember, it's only a 2-hour show where compared to Raw, they could probably have at least 2 women's matches because it's 3 hours. They'll have usually a women's tag match, a women's segment, and then at least one more match. I feel like it's tough with AEW because they have such a stacked roster and probably multiple stories going on. They probably spread it out in a sense like, all right, we'll have a women's match on Diamond, a women's match on 2 on Rampage, and then we'll throw in another one on. But it's just like it's tough because I feel like people definitely aren't watching Collision on Saturday, and nobody's watching Rampage on Friday. So I feel like their main product that everybody kind of has most of their eyes on is Dynamite, and it's we can only fit so much in there because we only have a 2-hour slot.
See, and to build on top of that, Collision actually had potential. Because I actually still do watch Collision because they do have a lot of entertaining matchup. But as far as the women go, they don't present like the top women on Collision. I mean, you may get a Julia Hart appearance, Chris Statlander, Willow once in a while, but you don't but you don't see it. Yeah, and it's like, and if their mindset is okay, the TBS title is kind of going to be synonymous with Collision, but yet you can still bring some of your other top established women over. I know that they did use Collision to kind of keep building this Toni Storm and Diana Purrazzo feud, which is their main feud right now. So they are taking steps to kind of do what you were suggesting, Lewis, and Daniel with the women's division. I think I mentioned before we started recording how now they're doing more in-ring match promos. They're doing more promo packages, continuing to build up the feuds. So that they are trending in the right direction as far as that goes. But like you said, you got 6 hours of TV a week. 4 of them are live. Well, Collision may be live some weeks, not live some other weeks. But Rampage is taped, so you got 4 live hours of television a week. Now, some of that can be attributed to, now the reason why the women's division is probably not focused on as much.
Rio's on TV now.
Yep. Because the women's division on much. That also goes back to how bloated the roster can be at times. I know I said now that you have Omega, who's going to come back from injury, Danielson, Ospreay, Okada. I mean, it's the deepest that the roster has been, the strongest that the roster has been as far as in ring talent goes.
Especially with all the injuries that have had.
Exactly, and all the injuries are people coming back. The guys who are hot right now, and Swerve and Daniel Garcia and the other guy. Like the roster is so deep, it's like they try to cram everybody into like 4 hours a week, and then the women get lost in the shuffle because of it. So definitely hope that moving forward that they something that they address.
I have 2 solutions to that. WCW, when they used to have Monday Night Nitro and stuff like that, they did a smart thing. They put the cruiserweights on to start the show all the time. All the time. And that got the crowd going, the moves and the innovation and stuff like that. To find time for these women, I understand that you want to have your promo and your opening storylines to start the show. That should be a part to showcase the women, especially with Mercedes Mone now, Britt Baker. You're having all this trouble on the roster. It's like, when are you going to find time for them? You have guys like Okada coming in. Pac has just returned. Warlord, Joe, Swerve, Hangman. MJF is going to return. So Adam Cole is going to return. So again, like, at what point are you going to find these places for these women? And I feel like right now you should be trying to find the best spot for them to get as much time as possible, because you're going to have more people returning, and then trying to figure out this card even more, which is going to be confusing because we already said nobody watches Rampage. Some people watch Collision like Brian. But mainly when I see stuff from AEW, it's on Wednesday night, either via Instagram or via clips, or I'm actually watching it in the background. So they have to find a place for these women, especially with Mercedes Mone there, especially with potential Britt Baker returning. They should be able to, that should be a number 1 priority, because everything else is already set. You already have Swerve and Hangman and Joe in that title picture. Darby Allin just went off. You have your mid-carders and stuff like that with Jay White and stuff like that. You got to find a spot for these women. That should be the number 1 priority, because if that's a selling point, if that's a hitting point where you can create new fans, especially with Mercedes Mone, with all the outside stuff, and people are taking a look right now, people are tuning in just to see her. Even if they don't watch AEW, I'm not the biggest AEW watcher, but I tuned in to see what she was going to say, what she was going to do. So this should be the chance for them to try to get this ball rolling, especially with the influx of what's happening on the card. It's like you got to establish them. You got to find a spot for them. They can't continue to be.
What? Oh, I have to cut you off. I have to cut you off right now because I just realized something. It is 9:51 p.m. What time does the Dynamite go off the
air? 10.
Yeah, or 10. I'm assuming this match is going to be overrun. I hope that they go to like 10:15. But
I thought it was 11.
As you think about what they should do, their women's match is going to start at 9:52 p.m.
First of all, why do we have Chris Jericho and Hook on here? Why do we have to hear
they're
from
going to be a tag team?
Why do we have to hear from Chris Jericho being the Lionheart? Why do we have to hear from him?
Because it's Chris Jericho.
No, it's Chris Jericho.
He's Le Champion.
I mean, he's Le Champion.
He's the wizard.
He's the wizard. He's the Ocho. He's the devil guy. He has more.
Like Jeff,
he's the painmaker.
He's like Jeff Jarrett in TNA.
No, he's
always
not.
Had to be on TV.
No, he's not. Don't you dare compare.
It's over. I'm saying it right now. It's over.
No,
it's over.
Jeff Jarrett made himself world champion and was like beating everybody he shouldn't have even been beaten. So that was different. No, don't do that to Jericho, please.
I was entertained by Jeff Jarrett and TNA, but overall, they got to find more time for the women. And I understand they're main eventing, so that's something. So let's start there with that. They're main eventing. Mercedes Mone is probably going to come out and challenge Willow.
Exactly. We're technically 8 minutes left on the show. Assuming that we're going to see how much they go over.
7 minutes. So hopefully they get a good showing here. But overall, yeah, I just hope that Mercedes Mone does well. I hope that she kicks butt. I hope her and Britt Baker can have some type of classic matches that, and Thunder Rosa? Where's Thunder Rosa? Like, I'm just thinking of all the people here. Like,
Collision, isn't she?
No, she would not. She had a couple of matches on Collision. I think she's just solely the Collision now. Serena Deeb, who's another one that just came back. She's been on Collision. Had a couple of matches. Yeah, she came back from injury. See, Moose, you didn't even know she was back. See, I said something like
I don't have time to watch Collision on Saturdays, and I always forget. The only reason I wanted to watch it was for Miro, and I don't even know if he's on it.
This is what Lewis is saying. I want to enjoy my Saturdays how I want to.
It's not a PLE. I'm not to watch what nothing. Come on.
I mean, to be fair, I do watch Collision after the fact, but I watch it more so to see if they carried over any stories from Wednesday. That way, when I watch on Wednesday, I'm not confused. That's more so why Wednesday. Why
do they?
Because on Rampage, they definitely don't do it. They just showcase all the mid to lower talent, and then maybe they may do a promo package here or there, but nothing really advances. Collision, sometimes they advance stories that are presented on Dynamite. So
yeah.
I don't know how it's on in the background. I don't know how Rio wrestles. Like,
why?
When she's facing like these bigger challengers and stuff like that. Well, she's the smallest person on the roster, but it's just like the size difference. Yeah, I know but even back then, I'm just like I don't know how she's wrestled. She's good, but I'm just like it's crazy.
I mean, she's like almost like a Zelina Vega size.
But there's other smaller women in WWE though compared to her, like Liv Morgan, like she can
Candice
find
Ray.
her
I mean, like they're the same stature.
Yeah. But it's just it's crazy to me. It's just crazy. The size difference always gets me. But hopefully Mercedes Mone can continue to do good things and get off to a good start in AEW. We'll see how that plans out. We all think that she's going to come out after this match, so we shall see. Let's move on to Monday Night Raw here. Lots of stuff happening, coming off the slap from the Cody Rhodes to The Rock on SmackDown, which we'll get into in a little bit. But I wanted to start off with probably the